Hi guys, and welcome to another kit review. So today we're having a look at a kit from ICM. It is ICM's Typ 2.5 32 1.5 ton German light truck, which is basically ICM's rendition of the standard Opel Blitz transport truck that the Germans used during World War II. The kit number for this one is 35401 and it came out in 2013. You don't get a driver with it, and you don't get the canvas rear cargo tray cover. Literally what you see is what you get. So having a look at the box art, really nice box art, shows the truck in all its aspects, really nicely done, nicely renditioned. Let's have a look at the rest of the box. On the side, brief history of the Opel Blitz, although ICM doesn't call it an Opel Blitz for obviously copyright reasons. ICM's addressed in Ukraine. On the other side, just three views of the truck. This one's obviously painted in overall Panzer Grey, and that's literally the box. Although I do love that cover art, that's really nicely done. Alright, so let's have a look and see what's inside. Instructions, if I can get it out. One bag of sprues with the small decal sheet, one bag of clears, and the 6 vinyl tyres. And that's literally it. So I'm going to get rid of this and then open up the bags and we'll have a look at the instructions. Right, so let's have a look at the instructions. And what you've got is, again, brief history of the Opel Blitz in English and Ukrainian. These are your color callouts, purely in Model Master, so naturally enough you'd use your own preferred paint supplier for your colors, but the colors would be standard early war Panzer Dark Grey, or later on dark yellow. Fairly straightforward. Alright, so let's have a look. So this is your basic sprue layout. You do get the tyres, the clears, and just 2 sprues that make up the entire truck. As I said, there's no figures in this, no cargo. This one cost me around $30 Australian second hand. That was including postage, so I thought that was quite a bargain. Tamier's Opel Blitz truck runs for around $45 in Australia at this point in time. Alright, so let's have a look, see about construction. So you start off with the engine, and it does have a really nicely detailed engine. As you can see, this is the chassis, so 2 main halves and all the joining braces, etc. So you'd have to be a little bit careful trying to get this, making sure that this is nice and square. But that shouldn't be too hard. Then you've just got your suspension, a couple other brackets going on, more suspension and the engine going in. As I said, this is a really nicely detailed engine. It does get the radiator shroud and separate radiator. Alright, so really nicely done. Exhaust pipe. And then we move on to the tyres, which are fairly straightforward. 6 vinyl tyres, 4 at the back, 2 at the front. This is, of course, the front steering, etc. That just goes on. A few other bits and pieces going on. Then you've got your drive shafts going on. So fairly straightforward, fairly simple, straightforward construction. Each step is fairly basic. There's nothing complicated about them. Then we go on to the cab. Take note, this is standard ICM steering wheel, 2-part, and the little points where you glue the center section on are quite little, so it does take a little bit of patience to get that lined up. Nicely detailed interior though. So bottom half of the cab goes on to the chassis, back half goes on. You do get a clear part for this window. This is your dashboard. You do get decals for the dashboard. front windscreen. As you can see, these are the doors, and the doors do have separate handles, etc. So that's a nice little detail rather than having them molded on like some manufacturers do. Now it does show the doors as basically closed, but I'd say with a little bit of work, a little bit of care, you could probably get one or both of those doors to be glued open if you wanted to have a look in the cab, or if you were going to put a driver in or something like that. Then you go on to the back cargo tray. Fairly straightforward. As I said, each step in this is very, very basic, not complicated steps, not too much to do in each step. Then you've got your supports going onto the bottom of the back cargo tray, mudguards and toolboxes, etc. These are the frames for the canvas cover for the back, which you don't get, so they're just going to be laying flat. Then the tray goes on. This is the one issue. This is solid. It's not made so that you can actually display the full engine, which is a problem. Of course, you could leave the sides off if you wanted to. A lot of German trucks did actually drive around without the sides, so you could do that, so you could display the engine. Windscreen wipers, no-tech light and headlights going on. Then it's just the tools going on the side, and then again more tools, just the rear light, etc. going on, and that's it. 40 steps might seem a lot, but each step is quite basic and simple, not overcomplicated like some manufacturers do. And then you get to painting. So painting is, again, very basic. Overall Panzer Grey. This one's for France 1940. This one is also France 1940. On the other side, again, Panzer Grey. This one is Russia 1942, and overall dark yellow with olive green camouflage stripes, and that is France 1944. So you do have a scope for painting this the way you want to. Even in Russia, you could paint that overall Panzer Grey and put brown stripes over the top of it. They did actually do that at the early stages of the war. Okay, so that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the tiny decal sheet. So I'll bring it up close so you can see. So you do have Wehrmacht and Luftwaffe number plates for this. Those are your instrument decals for the dashboard. There are white markings in here as well. I'm not sure if you can see them. I'll give you a still of this anyway, but they are your unit badges, etc. for this truck. But it is quite small, and I must admit there is a fair bit of transfer paper around the edges of all these decals, so that will have to be trimmed down, or perhaps just some aftermarket decals for this. Alright, so that's the decal sheet. So let's have a look at the sprues. First one out we'll have a look at is this one. So obviously, as you can see, it is the cab with the doors, bottom of the cab, front of the cab, and the cargo tray. Right. So let's have a closer look. So that's the cargo tray base, and the first thing you'll notice is it does not have any wood grain. Okay, so none of the cargo bay sides, back, etc. has any wood grain on it. Whether that's going to make a bit difference or not, that's entirely up to you. You could just run some sandpaper over it just to give it a bit of a grain. There are your doors. That's the front. There is your sides of the bonnet and the bonnet. So unfortunately, you can't open it up to look at the beautiful engine. Seats, they do give you this, and this is really nice. that is your front grille, and yes, you can see right through it. So I do like that. Those are the stays and reinforcing for the back tray, and that's pretty straightforward as to what that issue is. Sorry, that sprue is. No issue with that. Very little flash that I've seen so far on this kit, so I do like that. It should be a fairly straightforward build. So the next sprue is this one, which is the more complex sprue. On here you've got your engine, your wheels, all your fine details like door handles, etc., which are down here, suspension, exhaust pipe, and these two pieces down the sides are your main chassis frame. So let's have a look at the engine, because that's really nice. So yes, I would probably leave the sides off the bonnet, or hood as the Americans call it, because that is a really nicely detailed engine. That is your radiator fan. Okay, fairly straightforward. Tools, radiator shroud, wheels, really good. That is the outer rim of your steering wheel, and as you can see, little tiny points of attachment for that, which is the middle of your steering wheel. So that does take a bit of care. There are your door handles and windscreen wipers, wheels, mud guards. Fairly straightforward. So there is only two main sprues to this entire kit, so fairly straightforward build. Looks to me quite an easy build if you take your time. So the next sprue we're going to have a look at is this one, which is the clears. Really nice. They are quite clear. There's a slight scratch on this one. It is a second-hand kit, so it has been bounced around a bit. There is a molding aberration in one of the headlight lenses though, which is not a scratch. It's actually in the plastic, so that will be interesting challenge to deal with, but I think I can manage with that. Apart from that, I do like those. They are really, really nicely clear. And the last thing I've got to show you is these. So 6 vinyl tyres. See if I can bring that up. Really nice tread on those tyres. Really nice tread. However, there is, I'm not sure if you can see it, on the edges where they've been molded, there is quite a pronounced mold line on at least one side of each of those tyres. So that's going to have to be sanded down in some way. But apart from that, I do like the thread. It's a really nice thread. And that is literally it. That is ICM's Typ 2.5, 32, 1.5 ton German light truck. Basically, ICM's version of the Opel Blitz. Kit number 35401. Came out in 2013. Like I said, I bought it secondhand. Cost me $30 including postage, which I thought was quite reasonable. So these bargains can be got on the usual auction sites, etc. So I hope you got something from this one. That brings us to the end of this review as usual. And as usual, guys, I'd like to thank you for your likes, your subscriptions and your comments. Always appreciated. And also, as usual, until next time, take it easy, stay safe, and I will see you later.